Schopenhauer didn't hate women. He just refused to lie about what he saw. While the world was busy romanticizing love, he studied it like a disease. He didn't write to soothe your feelings. He wrote to expose the illusions you cling to. And his conclusions were brutal, not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. He said, "Women are by nature meant to obey. Before you react, listen deeper." He wasn't giving commands. He was holding up a mirror to nature, to instincts, to the primal games beneath our polished culture. Schopenhauer believed that love, especially romantic love, was not sacred. It was strategic. It wasn't about soulmates. It was about survival, the continuation of the species, the disguise of lust as destiny. He called it a trap laid by nature, not by women, but by the biological impulse to reproduce, masked in flowers, feelings, and forever promises. And women? He believed they were evolution's secret weapon, subtle, adaptive, emotionally intelligent, not because they're manipulative, but because nature designed them to secure protection, resources, and stability. In Schopenhauer's world, a woman's tenderness was not weakness. It was strategy. Her charm was not innocent. It was instinctual. She doesn't lie. Nature lies through her. That's the part most men miss. We don't fall in love with her. We fall into the narrative our biology wrote long before we had a choice. We become pawns in the game of our own extinction or evolution. Schopenhauer saw the whole thing as a cosmic joke, and we, the lovers, the poets, the broken-hearted, are the punchline. But here's where it gets darker. He believed men ruin themselves in pursuit of the feminine ideal, not real women, but the fantasy we've placed on them. And once you're in that spell, it doesn't matter how smart you are. You'll kneel, you'll beg, you'll betray your own logic, just to keep the illusion alive. The fantasy men can't let go of. She smiles, and your brain rewires itself. You think it's love, but it's biology. Or worse, mythology. Schopenhauer said, "The intellect of women bears the same relation to that of children as the limbs of a man to those of a boy." Again, not as insult, but as a warning. He saw women not as lesser, but as other, different logic, different rhythm, different truths. Men crave clarity, women move in waves. And where men seek meaning, women often seek safety. This difference, this gap in psychic structure, is where the illusion is born. You project your soul's hunger into her silence, your need for wholeness into her gaze, your need to be chosen, into every text she doesn't send. She becomes the screen. You become the film. And when she walks away, you don't miss her. You miss the man you were in her presence. That's the trap. Schopenhauer believed women had mastered the art of suggestion, not because they practiced seduction, but because the world always gave them power through proximity, not through force, but through gravity, through being the object of pursuit, the prize of nature's war. He saw women as the embodiment of nature's will, designed not to reason with men, but to inspire their madness. And here's what most men ignore: that unattainable woman. She's not rejecting you, she's reflecting your spiritual starvation. That woman who confuses you, ghosts you, pulls you in, pulls away. She is your psyche's projection of the feminine storm within. And if you've never met your own chaos, you'll mistake hers for beauty. Men worship women because they've never worshipped their own soul. And when the soul is abandoned, you will fall for anything that promises to fill it. So what did Schopenhauer really say? Not hate women, but see them. Not dominate them, but detach your delusion. Because the minute you believe she will complete you, you forfeit the part of yourself you haven't met yet. And that part, the unclaimed masculine, the forgotten king, the sovereign self, that's the only thing she ever respected in the first place. Not your gifts, not your body, not your mind, but your center. And until you reclaim it, she will keep spinning you in circles. And if this content is making sense to you, then click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. The man she can't control. You think she wants a nice guy, a good man, a provider, someone who listens, someone who tries, but she doesn't. Not really, because she can't respect a man who doesn't respect himself first. Schopenhauer believed women admire what they cannot move. They are drawn to what remains rooted in the storm, not reactive, not flattered, not seduced, unshakable. And that's why your kindness isn't working. She doesn't want your yes. She wants your no when it's real. She wants to feel your spine, even if it stings. You're trying to win her. She's trying to feel you. And if she can move you like a leaf in the wind, she'll never see you as the tree. Most modern men collapse at the first sign of disapproval. They chase peace over power, comfort over clarity, validation over vision. And what does she do? She tests, not to play games, but to find your edge, to see if your center is rented or owned. She wants to know, can you hold her fire without burning? Can you walk away, not out of anger, but alignment? Because that's what makes her feel safe. Schopenhauer called it the will to life, this blind, striving force within nature. That moves everything toward reproduction. It doesn't care about your feelings or your dreams. It only cares about strength and survival. Women carry that will, not in cruelty, but in instinct. And when a man can't lead himself, she doesn't feel protected. She feels exposed. And that's when the games begin. The silence, the withdrawal, the hot and cold. She's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to find the part of you that won't bend just to keep her close. Because if you'll bend, she'll break you, not because she's evil, but because you invited it. A man who can't walk away can never be fully loved. And here's the brutal truth. She doesn't fall for your promises. She falls for your presence. Not what you do when she smiles, but what you do when she tests. And until you become a man who leads his own heart, you'll always follow hers. The seduction of suffering. Why do you stay? Why do you keep coming back to the woman who confuses, rejects, and belittles you? Because something about her pain feels familiar. That's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You don't just love her. You recognize her. Her chaos feels like home because you grew up in chaos. Her emotional distance, it mimics the mother who was too distracted, too cold, too conditional. And now, without realizing it, you're trying to rewrite your childhood through the woman who triggers it the most. Schopenhauer didn't sugarcoat human suffering. He believed that much of what we call love is actually a masked craving for relief. You want her to fix what someone else broke. But that's not love. That's reenactment. And she doesn't know it. You don't know it. But your subconscious does. That's why you don't feel drawn to the kind, warm woman. You say she's boring, too available, no spark. Because she doesn't trigger your wound. She doesn't seduce you with suffering. And deep down, you're still addicted to the idea that if you can finally make this woman love you, then all the rejection from the past will make sense. But it won't, because this woman isn't your mother, and she can't heal the boy inside you. Only you can. Only you, by facing the part of you that thinks love has to be earned through pain. Only you, by grieving the nurturing you never received, instead of trying to extract it from someone who doesn't even know how to give it. Because here's the hard truth. You're not trapped by her. You're trapped by your own unhealed story. You've convinced yourself that her inconsistency is depth, her manipulation is passion, her emotional distance is mystery. But it's not. It's your trauma wearing her face. Schopenhauer said, "Suffering is the substance of life and the root of personality." If that's true, then your suffering has become your identity, and letting go of her would mean letting go of that identity. That's why it's so hard, not because she's rare, but because she represents the part of you you've never dared to stop suffering over. And until you break that bond, not with her, but with the pain, you'll keep calling your deepest wounds love. Her power is not the problem. Your denial is. Let's be honest. This isn't really about women. It's about what you project onto them. Her power triggers you, not because it's dangerous, but because it exposes what you haven't owned in yourself. Schopenhauer didn't see women as evil. He saw them as primal, embodiments of nature's will, raw instinct, survival embodied in softness. But when a man is disconnected from his own power, he sees that primal energy as a threat. He doesn't understand it, so he tries to dominate it. Or worse, he becomes addicted to it, hoping it will complete him. And when it doesn't, he blames her. He calls her manipulative. He calls her cold. He says, she used him, but the truth, she didn't use you. You abandoned yourself trying to win her, and she just responded to the energy you brought into the room. You let her set the frame. You let her dictate the rules. You let her be the authority because you didn't trust yourself to be one. That's not her fault. That's your lack of internal leadership. We glorify women's intuition, but forget that men have it too. It just speaks differently. It doesn't whisper like the feminine. It anchors, it grounds, it knows. And when a man is in tune with that knowing, he stops reacting to her moods, her silence, her games, because he sees through them, not to judge her, but to witness her, to remain calm in the chaos, because he's rooted in something deeper. And when a woman meets that man, she softens, because he doesn't need to overpower her. He doesn't need to fix her. He doesn't get pulled into the tides of her storm, because he is the shore. But you can't fake that. You can't pretend to be grounded when you're still performing. You can't lead when your self-worth is in her hands. You can't expect her to respect you when you're still negotiating your own value. Every time she withdraws, she's not your enemy, she's your mirror. And if that reflection feels painful, don't destroy the mirror. Heal what it's showing you. Schopenhauer wrote, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." Meaning, you can't force yourself to stop being insecure. You can only see the roots of your insecurity. And from that awareness comes transformation. You don't stop being reactive by controlling her. You stop by becoming the kind of man who no longer sees her power as something that threatens his own. That's the shift. That's the work. That's what will finally set you free. The lie of nice guy energy. She didn't leave because you were too nice. She left because your niceness was conditional, and deep down, she could feel it. Let's stop pretending. That fake warmth you thought was kindness, it was control, dressed up as charm. You did what she wanted, said the right things, avoided conflict, not out of strength, but out of fear. You feared being rejected, feared being seen, feared being alone, and every nice gesture you offered was a silent contract. If I do this, you won't leave me, right? But love isn't earned through performance. It's met through presence. And the moment she realized your goodness came with expectations, she lost respect, not because she wanted a bad boy, but because she wanted a whole man, one who speaks truth even when it's hard, one who doesn't betray himself to avoid friction, one who doesn't crumble when she withdraws affection. Nice guys don't finish last because they're kind. They finish last because they've confused passivity for virtue. Schopenhauer would have laughed at the modern nice guy because what he saw, and what most miss, is that suffering arises when we resist the truth of who we are, and the nice guy is in constant resistance. He hides his anger, hides his need, hides his sexuality, all to appear acceptable, safe, lovable. But no one can love a mask, and no one, especially not a woman, feels safe with a man who hides behind one. Women are intuitive. They sense what's unspoken. They know when your smile hides resentment, when your silence is manipulative, when your compliance is actually control, and it makes them pull back, not because they're ungrateful, but because they feel the energy behind your words, and it doesn't feel clean. The most dangerous men aren't the loud ones. They're the ones who say all the right things, but vibrate with insecurity. You want to be respected? Then stop being agreeable. Be truthful. Be grounded. Be someone who says no without guilt, and yes without needing validation. That's what creates trust. That's what lets her relax into you. That's what makes her respect you. Not because you're trying to earn it, but because you're not afraid to lose it. Your woman is not confused. She just doesn't trust your niceness because it doesn't feel rooted. It feels like a transaction, and real love doesn't make her feel like she owes you something for your politeness. It makes her feel safe because you're clear, direct, and solid. So stop being nice. Start being real. That's what she's craving, and that's what you've been avoiding until now. How to earn respect without asking for it. Respect isn't something you demand, it's something you radiate. And if you're not getting it, you have to ask yourself why. Women don't respect a man just because he raises his voice, or throws around money, or quotes Stoic philosophy. They respect the man who holds himself to a standard, even when no one is watching. They respect the man who doesn't compromise his center for short-term validation. You want her to respect you? Then start with this. Stop trying to win her approval. Stop explaining yourself when you feel misunderstood. Stop shrinking when she tests your edges. Schopenhauer didn't believe in flattering the crowd. He believed in piercing through it with brutal honesty, even when it made him unpopular. That's what real masculinity looks like. Not aggression, not aloofness, but clarity. Clarity of who you are, what you will accept, and what you'll walk away from. A man with boundaries is a man with gravity, and gravity pulls people into alignment, not by force, but by presence. Think about it. The sun doesn't chase the planets. It just shines, and everything orbits around it. That's how you lead, not by controlling, not by pleasing, but by being so clear in your own energy that people adjust themselves to stay in your field. You don't yell to be heard. You speak less, but every word lands. You don't beg for loyalty. You live with such integrity that disloyalty becomes self-exile, and you don't fear her leaving, because your self-worth isn't tethered to someone else staying. You are your own anchor, your own compass, your own source of safety. And when she sees that, feels that, she relaxes, because now she's with a man who doesn't need her to mother him, or fix him, or prove herself to him. She can soften, because you've stopped collapsing. She can trust, because you're trustworthy with yourself. And that kind of man, that kind of grounded, embodied, silent power, he doesn't chase respect. He receives it, because he's earned it, not by being right, not by being feared, but by being whole. That's how you stop bleeding energy. That's how you stop being baited into drama. That's how you start living like a man who doesn't just read wisdom, but embodies it. The difference between a test and a trap. Most men don't realize they're being tested until it's too late. They think she's just being emotional, or difficult, or unreasonable. But a woman's tests are rarely about what she's saying. They're about what she's sensing. When she raises her voice, she's asking, can you stay calm in the storm? When she goes silent, she's asking, will you chase or hold your ground? When she criticizes your path, she's asking, are you walking it for you or for her? And here's the truth. Most men never learn. She doesn't want to win the fight. She wants to feel safe. And safety doesn't mean control. It means knowing that you won't abandon yourself just to keep the peace. Because if you do, you've already failed the test. She can feel when you fold. She can feel when you lie to yourself to make her feel better. And in that moment, a trap closes, because now she no longer trusts you. As the anchor, now she has to lead, and that's a role she will eventually resent you for the moment you betray your truth. To avoid discomfort, you've handed away your leadership. And don't get it twisted. Leadership isn't domination. It's self-possession. It's staying rooted when emotions rise. It's knowing when to listen and when to say, "This is my boundary." It's not being swayed by the tides of her moods, but remaining steady so she can soften into her own. Schopenhauer warned that those who live to please end up enslaved. You can either pass the test by standing tall or fall into the trap by shrinking. Women don't consciously set traps, but the unconscious feminine reacts to uncertainty with chaos. If you meet that chaos with more chaos, you lose. If you meet it with silence born of fear, you lose. But if you meet it with clarity, direction, and unshakable calm, you earn her respect without ever raising your voice. And that's when love becomes something else, not a game, not a war, but a dance, where she gets to surrender. Not because she's weak, but because you're finally strong. The test is not about her, it's about you, and whether you'll lead from shadow or from sovereignty. Why your energy is her mirror. You want to understand a woman? Don't look at her words. Look at your energy, because 90% of her behavior is responding to the frequency you're holding. If you're inconsistent, she'll become anxious. If you're unclear, she'll become reactive. If you're disconnected, she'll start grasping for connection. But if you're centered, present, unshakably grounded, she melts. Not because you've said the right thing, but because you've become the right presence. Alan Watts said that life flows when we stop resisting what is. Schopenhauer said that suffering arises from the will's endless craving, and both were pointing to the same truth. Your state creates your world. So if you keep attracting chaos, conflict, confusion, you need to stop asking what's wrong with her and ask what you're projecting, because a woman in her feminine will always mirror back your masculine integrity or lack of it. If your words say "I got you," but your energy says "I'm scared," she'll feel it. If you say "I want connection," but your nervous system is in survival mode, she'll tense up. The feminine isn't decoding logic. She's feeling vibration, and when your vibration is erratic, she becomes the emotional weather, stormy, unpredictable, loud. But when you're the mountain, she can be the sky, spacious, playful, safe, because finally, someone is holding the frame, not with force, not with arrogance, but with inner stillness. And that stillness comes from meeting your own chaos, sitting in your own discomfort, and not outsourcing your peace to her affection. The moment you realize that she's not here to give you stability, but to test yours, everything changes. You stop blaming, you start breathing. You stop demanding her softness and start embodying the safety. That makes it natural. You don't ask her to trust you. You become trustworthy. Not once, not when it's convenient, but every day, especially when no one's watching, because her feminine knows what your masculine forgets. Presence isn't what you give to her. It's what you live in yourself. And when you do, she'll mirror it back without a single word. The final illusion, and why most men never see it. Here's the truth most men will never face. It was never about her, not her beauty, not her silence, not her anger, not her praise. It was always about what she reflected in you. Schopenhauer said, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." In other words, you think you're choosing her, but it's your unconscious wounds choosing, your unmet needs choosing, your fear of being alone choosing. And when she pulls away, or tests you, or explodes in emotion. You think she's the problem, but what if she's just the mirror? The mirror showing you where you still seek approval, where you still chase control, where you still fear being abandoned. That's the final illusion. Thinking she's doing something to you, when in reality, she's revealing something in you. The pain was always yours. She just triggered it. And here's where men either wake up or spiral deeper. The ego wants to fix her. The soul wants to face self. One keeps you chasing. The other sets you free. Freedom doesn't come when she finally gets it. Freedom comes when you stop needing her to, when you stop waiting for validation, when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you stop saying, "I'll be enough when she loves me right," and start saying, "I was always enough. She just couldn't see it." Or maybe she did see it, but you didn't, and that's why she couldn't stay. The masculine path isn't about conquering women. It's about conquering illusion. The illusion that something outside you will ever complete you. The illusion that if she acts right, you'll feel whole. The illusion that if she stays, you'll finally be safe. But no woman, no matter how loving, can heal a man who won't face himself. And no man, no matter how masculine, can hold a woman he still blames for triggering his unhealed wounds. So if you want freedom, stop fixing, start feeling, stop performing, start remembering, stop trying to control her, and learn to control your presence. Because when that becomes your home, no woman can destabilize you, and no illusion can trap you. You've seen the mirror, you've felt the truth, and now you finally understand she was never your enemy. She was your invitation to wake up, to level up, to finally come home to yourself. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe. Drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. Because if you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. You're realizing that every trigger was a teacher, every rejection was a redirection, and every difficult woman was holding up a mirror to the part of you that still felt unsafe alone. So trust this. The video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, the next depth, and it will meet you exactly where you are. Exactly when you're ready, we'll see you there, in the space where clarity lives and illusions dissolve. Depthoria continues.